how did you experience COVID-19 so far in a 2-3 minutes from your side?
Yeah, I want to say that it's really a balanced impression. So first, of course, from a personal point of view, it was really an interesting experience. So because it really something really different from the day-to-day activities. So it's a really good challenge to test and to really experience new things. That's the first point. For example, like teleworking. So for many companies, it's something new. For others, no, not exactly, but we have to test new ways to work. For the company now, one interesting thing is that if we compare to other companies, other sectors, the food industry, okay, guys, it's not so bad for us. You know, we are in the safety industry, so food industry, it's food regulation, safety procedures, training about hygiene and safety, sanitation. So to be honest, it's not so difficult to explain to workers, to people that, okay, we have to do something more. So we have to add, okay, this procedure, this step. Really, it was really a good surprise. Now, the negative points, of course, is that you see that food industry, okay, we are essential industry. That's a good news. So we always need to eat. So that's good for our business. But also we see that the weakness of the supply chain. So our business, and it's not a secret. So you know that our business is to have independent retail shops. And of course, in France, in Belgium, it was really the main market. Everything was closed in 1-2 days. Even, okay, it was food industry, food retail shop, so you can be open, but without customers, so you have to close. And in 1 day, so from a usual production, you stop everything. So you have to clean the factory, so of course we have business, and it's a good opportunity, but to do different things, so to make big maintenance 2 weeks before, 3 months before. But it was really interesting to see that the supply chain can be so weak. From something, we start from nothing. So remember 3 months ago, oh yeah, it's the pandemic, or we don't know, it's like a flu, it's nothing, we will see. And in 1 week, everything was freeze. And that's a big surprise. So, you know, really balanced impressions.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I think I do agree with that. I'll do agree with everything you said, but I remember that moment where we thought it was in China, and you know, we still were to win everything here. As a matter of fact, I went skiing to Austria with friends of mine, and then suddenly we had to go early home because if we didn't do that, we probably had to stay in Austria. Suddenly things changed.
Yeah.
But before that we were thinking, it's far from my bed show here. It
Exactly.
never will happen here. And
Yeah.
that was a big learning. Absolutely, that was a big learning. And once it hits, then you start to have those television where your prime minister, whoever it is, will telling you actually, this is gonna close, this is gonna close, this is gonna close, stay home, and then suddenly it went over to streets that were empty. And then you start to think, oh my God, I think we're in it now. And so you're absolutely right. And then I think we will discuss also later where we are now, but you're absolutely right. How was that for you, Shabeek?
For us, I can tell you, very challenging. Like exactly what you said, you know.
It's Dubai, isn't it, Shabeek? Dubai, huh?
Yeah, Dubai.
Yeah.
Okay, so, you know, Dubai is a connecting point for the world. So we receive a lot of tourists. This country also depends a lot of tourists in this place.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's everything started to reduce slowly. And like what you said, when we heard that started in Wuhan, then we all thought it's only in China. It's not going to come to us.
Yeah.
Slowly, we started to realize it's next to us, and that's really started to create the situation, with the people, even the panic situation that's created, and people started to go to the market everywhere and grab the things, and everyone's home became a mini store. They started to collect the food products. And when we are talking about food, I can tell you, for us, our business that's increased in the beginning, I can tell you, because we are producing the essential products. So water, everything that we have to produce, and where we have to operate, the complete hours. And other thing is the challenge, how do we control this? We don't want this situation to come to our factory or with our employees. And where our team, they go to the market, they meet the consumers, they meet the customers, and we don't want this virus to be affected with our team. So thinking about introducing the PPEs, so it was really quite challenging. Initially, when we said, when we used to see the people in proper PPE suit in Wuhan, when we were seeing the news and all, we thought, no way, we are not going to use this kind of things. But it's become, part of our life now. And I'm still remembering, Rachid, one of the presentation what you have done in Netherlands. You were talking about the system you implemented in Haynes, how to change the culture for the employees to wear the PPEs or washing their hands and all. But this little corona, unfortunately, we can't see him, but he made the culture, everything different now. Everything's changed. You don't have to tell to anyone to wear the mask, wash their hands, anything, it's become part of everyone's life. And that's one of the good part we can see. And same time, a lot of challenges in a country like Dubai. We have 7 Emirates in UAE. And there was, when this lockdown started, that's Emirates to Emirates. Like where I'm sitting now, I'm sitting in Al-Ain, and I cannot go out from this place to Abu Dhabi or Dubai. So everything's available, only the food products that's allowed. But if you want to travel between these Emirates, still that's not allowed. So the challenges are there, and slowly they will lift it. And today's newspaper that's come out, Dubai is going to receive tourists from 7th of July onwards. So that's a positive note. A lot of controls, it's happening here. The numbers, if you look at it, the old days, it was the peak that's over. That's we can say. The peak time that's over. The numbers that's went high. Then later on, they started to come down. The main reason for that, people started to realize what's corona and what they have to do, what to avoid and what kind of safety measures they have to apply. That's everyone became a small expert, I can say. Everyone become the expert. They all knows about this little virus. So industry-wise, yes, there is up and down, but I can see being a semi-government company and supporting the National Food Safety Program, Food Security Program. So we are supporting with these essential products like a water and all. We're making sure the product is available in this country from our side. So that's a challenge for Agthia and the team. And like us, the food safety team, we have to make sure whatever is going to the market, let's go in a safe mode.
Yeah. Thank you, Shabeek. Thank you. So that means that after the 7th of July, you will open your airport again, and then people from different countries can come and visit Dubai again.
Yes, that's the updates. That's according to the Gulf News today. That's the latest updates what we have. 7th of July, Dubai is going to open.
Yeah. The Netherlands opened their, we Dutch people are allowed to go on holiday, starting a little bit going on now to all the countries in Europe, except the UK, I believe, and Sweden. But the rest of the European countries were allowed. And I believe every day one extra other country in Europe will be added to the list. So what you see is a lot of people are booking flights, but there's also a lot of people who are going to have their holidays in the Netherlands this year, just to be sure. Yeah, but it's good to hear that the airports are getting open because, it started as a pandemic and it's a very serious one, absolutely. But it's also linked to economic business, isn't it? Economic stuff, isn't it, guys? And yeah, absolutely true. Thank you, Shabeek. What about you, Neil?
Oh gosh, I just like to reiterate some previous comments, and I said I am so lucky. I feel very lucky. I'm in the food business, and we make a wide range of products. I mean, we've had in the process we've had to refocus, and we had to do that very quickly. I can't think of anything that comes anywhere close to what we've been through, and indeed what we're still going through, and we will go through for some time. It's changed everything, and it'll take a long time to actually get anything back to where I think normality is. But can I just share you the picture that really made me stop and think and realize this is extraordinary. So I'm going to share one picture I took back in February. I'll just share this, and I think it should come up as that. Can you? Oh, sorry, I don't know.
Something is coming.
That's it.
Something is
coming. Can you see that?
Well, I see, and
yes, I see that. Yes.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
That I had never seen on a working weekday at 6 o'clock.
Wow.
And I took, and then I went to another shop as well. I think I went to another retail shop, which is close by, and I got that. And these were just standard staple ingredients. I mean, of course, there was the toilet rolls, there was the hand sanitizers, but you want to get flour, tomatoes, just anything, a staple. It had been stripped, and this is before. I suppose this was taken about a week, maybe 2 weeks before lockdown, and I think it just shows you how quickly the message got round. And as soon as something went, there's a shortage of something, wallop, it would gone. Now, I'm going to figure out how to unshare now, because I think
just go back and just stop.
I think there you go. So there was that effect, but like I say, there was something on the television about a week ago, and they were actually there was documentary into what happened, and a gentleman actually put it very well, and it certainly rings true of us. So the distribution system was very much designed again around this idea of just in time. And that's been coming through since the 70s, bit by bit. I mean, I know Sam Wall probably had a lot to do with this over the years, but it's become just in time. But it wasn't just in case. And that's the difference. That's what that I think is why we got in that situation. There was no way that they just could have coped in the distribution chain with and it wasn't like people were loading their trolleys up with just like whole piles of toilet roll. It was they would just buy an extra one. And suddenly there became a bit of a cascade. Anyway,
sometimes even fights, I believe, isn't it?
And of course the other thing is this: everybody was packed into the retailers. Something that you would be shocked now to even think about. But it was just people were actually packed in there. It's just everything changed, and it's changed several times to where we are now.
Oh, absolutely right. To be very honest to you, when you showed me the picture, I had a deja vu what happens just the weeks before, because then everything comes back again about what happened. So that picture, what you just showed up, if you just put 2020, I think 10, 20 years from now, everyone will remember that, to be honest to you, because it did happen everywhere. Where people couldn't get stuff, isn't it? So, and I don't know why toilet paper, and then it took off with everything, but it started with toilet paper. I just don't.
I first heard of it in Australia for some reason. It just came round, and at the time I just thought it was a joke. I didn't take it seriously at all. And then about 2 days later, I'm thinking, this is not a joke.
Exactly.
This is really serious. And then I think the other thing I was just got to say, there was we were certainly in this sort of, it's somewhere else, it's China, or it's, and then there was a documentary also on the news which showed, it was shocking, the situation in one of the hospitals in Lombardy, and I just saw it, and I just couldn't believe my eyes what was going on, and I knew we were in big trouble.
Yeah, that was very impactful in Italy. Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah, there was. Yeah. I'm gonna say when I think about it, it was just incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Tragic. Absolutely. Italy and Spain, isn't it? But I think Roberto might tell us a little bit more insight about Italy from his point of view. Thank you very much, Neil. Thank you very much. Nati, what about you? How did it go in your world?
Well, yes, I'm based in Spain. I didn't say it before, so it was hit quite hard here.
Yeah.
And yes, as you were saying, it happened here, and we had the knowledge from China before, right? But we all thought this is not going to happen. This is not going to happen, and it was right here. And well, our company told us to work from home to those that were not exactly needed to be working on the production floor. And we were even thinking, well, maybe this is going too far. We are still going like, is this really needed? And then like the government said, well, everyone who doesn't need to be at the facility or wherever, if it's not essential, stay at home. And schools were closed. Even then, well, I thought that after Easter holidays, children would be going back to school. I was thinking like, oh, I think people are just becoming crazy. But not really well, it hit Spain very hard, and well, we had to be locked down and many deaths. So really had to take it seriously. And well, it's unbelievable how things change so quickly.
Yep.
And how people change their minds so quickly, and what in the past you didn't need as essential, it becomes essential, and then you realize that well, we were not really prepared for this, and yeah, so really something that we didn't expect, and well, I believe like most of the people didn't expect. So yeah, a lot of learnings that we took, how things changed quickly. And well, one positive side is that I believe the companies and government took human safety as a priority, and that also, well, we could feel that we are being cared for, right? Staying at home as much as possible and taking all the precautionary measures. So I think this is the positive side, and also becoming closer with understanding more about each other and how each other is feeling. So
just when we started the call, I had just a discussion with Ahmed and Roberto, and where we said I think we started to value little things much more than we did before. And yes. I think personally, I speak for I think that's a very, very very nice thing to get to know again, because Roberto said I was just going out to buy an ice cream and I was very happy.
Yeah.
I can understand the feeling, to be very honest to you.
Yes.
I can understand the feeling because you start again to see the little things that they have bigger impact than a lot of bigger things, and I think that slow down to understand it a little bit more. Thank you very much, Nati. Thank you very much. And then Roberto, I know it was Spain and Italy, definitely in Europe, isn't it? So what about your world, my friend?
Yeah, this time we have been maybe for the first time ahead of the others in Europe. We are not used to that. Unfortunately, it was not very nice thing. But you're right. When we were discussing, look what is happening in Wuhan, probably it was already here.
Yeah.
And everything was so fast that it was not possible to be prepared at first at the mental level. You know, what about if there is no food anymore, or if there are no possibility to deliver stuff even at home? What should happen? And after a couple of days, it was the lockdown here in Italy. So it has been very, very fast. We have been a bit luckier because the empty shelf instead of the toilet paper was the pasta shelf. Of course, here pasta is a symbol of staple food, and it was the first to be hit. And I was very impressed and at the emotional level, personal emotional level, to have to line for 1 hour to enter in a supermarket. This is something that I would ever not expected to experience, and I think it's one of the things that I will never forget. And yeah, the unexpected. To me, the real point is what the COVID is bringing to us is that there is nothing anymore that you can give for granted, both at personal and professional life. I mean, I mentioned how I was happy to be able to be free to walk around in the street and to buy an ice cream. Or the first time I went to a bar to get an espresso, well, I wanted to cry. It was so impactful at the emotional level. That was really a discontinuity.
Yeah.
But also at the professional level, everything that is for granted. It's for granted that the staff goes on the line to work, and it was not true anymore, because we had to care a lot our people in the plants to be sure they are going to work instead of staying at home ill.
Yeah.
You know, and then you cannot provide the food anymore. And if you do not provide food at a supermarket, then people escalate, as in the world, in scarcity of staple food. And also, I mean, we give for granted that the supplier supply stuff. That was not the case anymore. It was not for granted. What about if a supplier cannot deliver or cannot produce raw materials or packaging materials, and you cannot produce or pack the food anymore? So everything that we give for granted, this COVID told us that it's not granted at all.
Yeah.
Or at least we have to question.
Yeah.
This to me the main point, and I think that is also a beneficial message that the COVID got to us. Also the expectation. I mean, we are all used to have everything we like, and it is not true anymore.
No.
So the little lack in freedom, personal freedom, to go out and walk with the dog, is not true anymore. So to me, there are a few messages that we have to be sure that we will not forget when the normal or the new normal will be back.
Yeah, and just also simple thing. You're absolutely right, Roberto. But also simple things like just hugging somebody or kissing somebody that you didn't see for a while, and now say, "Don't touch me, stay there." You know what I mean? Or disinfecting your hands till actually they're starting to hurt, because everywhere where you did go, you had to disinfect, and and a lot of people that had their families in a elderly care house and were not allowed to see them, and some of them passed away, and you were allowed still not to go to see them. You're absolutely right that this thing does have a big impact on human social animals as we are. But also in the things of, hey, what is it what we can change going forward? You're absolutely right. And as I said, Italy and Spain were actually where the fire was in Europe, wasn't it? And after that, we start to get it here. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think we will talk later a little bit about from now going forward, what do we think about that? Thank you very much, Roberto. Thank you very much. I think now I'm going to start to use a couple of things from the agenda, and then I'm also going to add questions that came from Neil. When I ask the question, guys, I think it's just great that if somebody say, well, I want to say something about that, and then somebody can take over. And if we feel as a team, I think we answered this, we can go to the next point. So is that okay?
Yeah.
So one of the things in the agenda that I saw very clearly, and it is also mentioned by everyone on the call, is basically the part when you talk about our people in the factory that were doing the job. I mean, how did that go for you guys? Because in some cases, management was not allowed to go in those factories to visit and help, as probably Neil did, rolling up the sleeves, because they want to keep you out to keep everyone safe inside. but at the same side, sometimes people did get sick, shortage of resource, keep up with the demand, suppliers not delivering, let's change the planning, let's do product A and then do product B. There was a lot of replanning and planning versus resource. How did you guys manage this? Please feel free to answer, whoever you are. How did you manage this, guys? How did you manage the right resource versus the right planning, the right product to run, to enable you to provide the consumer and serve the consumer?
I can break the ice if you
go ahead,
like.
Please. Go ahead.
At first, I have to say that everything that happened, it was not thanks to quality and safety teams, but thanks to our manufacturing colleagues. So we just were the supporting role to them, and honestly, we also offered ourselves to go in the plants to work as a worker, because at that time, especially in February and March, the most important person was the worker, the staff in the plant, not myself, not the CEO, not the executives. It was the workers on the line. And so, of course, it was not allowed to go in a plant, because we wanted to keep as much as possible segregated the plant people from the rest, to avoid that employees or managers who anyway had a contact with them for possible COVID spread. I think my colleagues have done an extraordinary job in keeping the motivation on the people on the line. That was, of course, a daily review of all the status people presence in the plants, but they've done a huge effort to make them feeling cared. I can provide you some examples. At first, it has been done with our testimonials, public testimonials, some videos that were private, so they were not spread on the website or in social, where our testimonials were were recognizing the huge importance of our workers, because they were, in a way, they were our heroes, because everyone was talking about the doctors and the hospitals people. Of course, they have been the real heroes, but also the other staffs for example, in food and pharma factories. They went to work every single day, knowing that there could be anyway a risk of a contamination. In a way.
Correct.
For instance, the Barilla family has bought advertising on newspapers, 2 pages, to thanks personally every single staff worker on the line in the country. There were something like 2,000 names, where every worker could find himself or herself on the newspaper for personal thanks, public personal thanks. They got incentives, of course, like all the others, retroactive. So it was really rewarding, because it was retroactive. So we started 1 month ago and still working. We tried to provide them the PPE before the government fixed the rules. So when the government fixed the rules, they could recognize that what the company has done. By the way, it was really a shortage of masks, for instance. We had to send with a private flight to get them somewhere in the world. That the company was taking care of them, because they could have found exactly the same rules that the government issued after 2 or 3 weeks, 2 weeks before from the company. So to me, the real point was to make our people feel cared. This to me the real point, and I have to say that we had no one of our plants that was stopped. So we have 30 production sites worldwide, and there was none of them that was stopped. We also saw the encouragement from one plant to the other. I remember a very nice picture from our workers in our plants in Greece that were encouraging the ones in Italy to go ahead. That we were thinking of you, and I think that all these small gestures and cares counted so much at that time.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I agree. Anyone else? Anyone else that wants to talk about the challenges on resource and what you have done to make sure that people stayed encouraged and going forward? Anyone?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, please. You're right. Moschos, you're raising your hand. That's
yeah. Like school. No, I agree with Roberto. So we had to manage also the fear of teams. And indeed, so you have to offer masks, face shields, things like that. But for me, one aspect was that people, okay, you look at TV, so you are looking what the authorities said. And every day, for example, in Belgium, so you had some different views of the problem. So with experts, so experts number one said, okay, we have to use masks. After that, we had some problem with the delivery of masks, you know, the medical one. And I think that all countries experience the same problem. So one part of our business was also to explain to people what authorities said, because it was not so clear at one point of the problem and one point of the situation and the pandemic. Because one time they said, okay, and it's true, food industry is essential. But okay, we don't know about the delivery of masks, so you have to have some distanciation. So you have to, and for me, the best example was, so you said, okay, in Greece, which was one issue, in Italy another. So for Belgium, the official distance is 1.5 meters. In France, you have 1 meter. In Italy, I don't remember if it's 1 or 2 meters or so. And okay, in our factory, we have 30 different nationalities. So they are looking every day at TV from all over the world. And so you have to explain that, okay, guys, yes, in France, it's in France. And that the virus is the same, but the solution or the answers of authorities are different. And for us, and for me, from a personal point of view, it was really the challenge to explain and to give more advice, let's say, than it's not an order or it's not a procedure, it's not really rules. It's really an advice and okay, we have masks. So we give you also face shields in addition. So to be sure that, okay, we take all measures to reduce risk. But indeed, there are some new things and we do not know everything about the virus. So we have to continue. And I don't know for you, but it was really an everyday challenge to, okay, what was the last expert on TV last night? And so, for example, we have some questions about workers saying, okay, why don't remove the shoes before go into the building? So you have to explain or to say, okay, where do you see this rule? Oh yeah, but in this country, so they remove also all the shoes, so they change everything. And so you have to really to challenge yourself and to be consistent with the local rules and also with the fears of people.
Yeah, oh, that's true. That's true. Okay, let's go to the next question. Shabeek, for you, did you had any? This is just from the agenda, and I'm making it up a little bit because I think it was a challenge. Roberto just hit on it a little bit. Did you had any challenges with suppliers? And if yes, how did you manage that? I think you're on mute.
Rachid.
I think you're on mute. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, now?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes, we had challenges. As you know, Middle East, most of the things to this region, it's coming from other countries, from Europe or Far East, we are dependent. So if you look at what we are producing from here, it's limited. Most of the raw materials, it's coming from different countries. So this country faced a lot of issues, and even for us, we had issues. But the good part, what we have done, when this pandemic started, and when we started to realize it's going to hit us, one of the things we created, we put a proper BCM in every department, the business continuity plan, and proper plan for every department. And that's also we linked, I can tell you, each and everything related to every department. What are the core material we needed? And what is the stock level? We started to look at our inventory for the raw material, packaging, and not only that, for the supporting function as well, including the food laboratory. So the laboratory items, the analytic, any critical spare parts, because most of our equipment that's from Europe. So how we are going to get it, or if it is anything need to come from China or Far East, how to get it. So machinery spare parts, everything we started to list down, and we classified them, group wise. What's critical, okay, and what must you have, and what we can keep, or maybe we can source it locally. So we identified these all critical spare parts, equipment, even the packaging material, even the raw materials. Then we put a different plan how to resource them quickly. So some of the items definitely where we have to spend more money, okay. So that's we classified, yes, as a special category, but we spend. But other things where we can procure like a bulk, we bulk and we secure the stock for us. And another challenge, like others said, PPE. Even we were thinking whether we should change our business to mass production, because that's become the most the popular, and every day the price was fluctuating in the market. Even I can tell you, we paid $2 for one mask, which is this kind of mask, the normal surgical mask. $2 for one piece, and that's a lot. And if we count the number of production staff we have, and we cannot ask anyone to keep that mask for the whole day or whole shift. So people need to replace it. So educating the people, and also educating the people how to use everything carefully. That was another thing. And disposing the material. This was another challenge. Then also getting the material, because we talk about mask, the major production for mask that's happening in China, and that's country locked. So not easy to get it from there. So we were thinking about how to have a tie-up with some of the companies. Then we started to talk about with Thailand, some of the companies, if we can source it from there. And also we started to look for the PPE supply locally, and we encourage some of the companies start producing the PPEs here. So that way we secured the PPE parts. But the raw material, everything, as I said, most of the things we secure in a bulk, and where we have to pay a little bit higher side, but the good part is we have the availability.
Yeah.
And the critical challenge, I can tell you, mainly the spare parts. The spare parts, if the new machine breakdown happen, then it's efforting. So that was the biggest challenge, and also bringing the technicians, bringing the technician from Europe or any other countries. And I can tell you the technology, I'm sure everyone enjoyed the technology. Even the Microsoft Teams launched recently, and everyone is benefiting, that part. Even we are using Microsoft Teams now. I can tell you, we use the virtual communication system a lot. And the machine manufacturers, they were getting from Germany, Italy, through the videos, and where our technicians, they were fixing the machines. And also the laboratory equipments, like I'm chromatography and this kind of equipments, where we have to recalibrate it. So instead of bringing the people to our site, we were doing this off-site. So the technology also helped us.
Yeah, that's correct. Go ahead, Nati, go ahead.
Yes, I would just like to add to what Shabeek said, is that on top of those challenges that we faced, in some cases for us, also because the government said that this is an alarm status, so they could take some of the demand that you had for the factory for the country, like in the case of gloves or anything. So, for example, we had previewed a little bit the need of these specific PPEs, And in one case, the government took it from us and saying like hospitals need it more than you. So also have to bear that in mind that yes, if it is on the port or wherever, they could take it as well.
Yeah. No, that's correct. That's correct. And just to build on this story, a question for you, Neil. We talked about suppliers. We talked about Shabeek was talking about bulk. Was talking about probably the way I think you're talking, Shabeek, your power was because you're buying bulk and that kind of stuff, but you did have some challenges on spare parts, etc. What about Neil? Did you had any challenges with specific ingredients that you were not able anymore to purchase because whatever reason?
Well, yeah, I was going to say it was from the technical point of view, that was one of our biggest challenges. I mean, obviously. Yes, the people, the manufacturers, definitely the heroes, I think, here. But almost from the first week, we realised we were going to have issues with supplies, and it's interesting the sort of things that immediately hit us. So the first thing that hit us was organic acids, food acids. You couldn't get them. They just and these were particularly susceptible to because they were such standard things. We don't use a lot of them in terms of volume. We really sort of got down to a situation where we only been supplied by one supplier. Now other sort of ingredients where we have more volume, things like tomatoes and spices, we probably do 3, 4, 5 even different suppliers to spread the risk. But these were suppliers who had supplied us for many, many years, never had a problem, and suddenly we were really caught on the back foot there. And we had to do a lot of things very quickly. So the first thing is we put in a raw material shortage. Not just meeting, but we set up an instant chat channel on Teams, so we could immediately know if procurement were having problems. They would flag it up to us immediately, and then we would look at the options. And that might be a case of balancing production. We did a bit of recipe adjustment as well to compensate for it. I remember, this is a very strange analogy. I keep thinking, way back in World War II, they used to call things called Liberty ships. And Liberty ships were like merchant vessels where you had to sort of change the plans almost as they were being built when they had shortages. It's a little bit like that. Yeah. It felt like that. But yeah, and I would say it's changed since then. It's changed into more of the sort of long-term supply issues. So things like we've got crops harvest time for things like mangoes right now in India, and then that's a bit of a concern about how we're going to get that through and what backup plans have we got. So I think what we did was we immediately sort of looked at options of alternative supply. We actually shut down 2 lines, and there's still two lines that still shut down based on the priority, and those 2 lines were sort of feeding into food service. So we had to go to these people and say, I'm sorry guys, things have changed. Don't let you down, but we'll do this week, but then we have to stop because we've got to conserve what we have. And they've been sort of on the whole, very understanding in that situation. Yeah. And we've had to focus in retail because that's really, because I think the biggest change is that people are eating in more. People were having lunch, for instance, in their houses, which suddenly that's like a third more meals that were going through retail. Yeah. So suddenly we had to refocus everything. It's hard to put in a few sentences exactly what we did, but when I think about it, over the few weeks, we really completely changed everything. Things like from the product development point of view, a lot of projects were just put on hold and are still on hold. Yeah. Like the capital project, we just had to stop, and also in terms of just turning around alternative ingredients. Yeah, where was the process we followed? We had to relook at and say, okay, in this process, what is essential here and what is nice to have. No. And obviously essential has to be the safety, absolutely, no doubt about it. No. But the way we would order our new suppliers, do it online, do it through questionnaires, and having actually people on the ground actually approve the ingredients, so we make it up on the bench. So I'm back to the bench, making up products, and then getting people on the factory floor to actually approve them. People who do it every day, rather than as normally would happen, you would send it to the marketing, or send it out to marketing and head office, etc., etc. We just didn't have that luxury of time, and we had to really put in the shortcuts. I don't like saying that word, but we had to shortcut it. And trust. Actually, everything's trust.
Yeah.
We had to maintain trust, but we had to say, situation, you've got to trust us.
Yeah.
That we're finding ingredients, and we're finding ingredients to match.
Yeah.
So I think really, as I think I hinted before in a previous conversation, but that you can put these wonderful processes into place, and they look really good, and you map them out, and you said you covered all the risks. But the real test is to actually throw it into a storm. And boy, has this been a storm.
You're absolutely right.
This is putting the process under stress.
Yeah. What about Neil? What you just hit on? You're absolutely right, and I like your example that you just mentioned. Now, I will definitely remember that one to be used. But what about suppliers? You said we were forced to approve suppliers by team meetings, by vendor questionnaire, by paperwork. I think that sounds familiar to a lot of people, to all of us probably. But are you also having a plan to revisit them once the lockdown is gone, to go back and confirm, or will you leave it that way?
No, we definitely need to close the sort of gaps on there. And actually, I mean, this is getting into procurement. It's not really my field, but I think we just relook at the safety basis. But I mean, fortunately, because we're an international company, got our colleagues in Poland, etc., and we managed to sort of like say, our supplier is still supplying us with X. Can we get some of this stock over, and you can use it. So we sort of, because we've got a bit of a network going, we managed to sort of well, we got plenty of this here, but we're short of that, and we did a bit of an exchange with other customers. So we have other companies in the group that also have spices, other companies in the group that use the food acids that didn't seem to have that problem. So we managed to sort of go that way around. So that certainly means that we're not actually approving from scratch, but we've had to obviously trust their approval system and accept that they are covering the risks. Yeah. So I think we've had to learn to trust a lot more.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So just to continue what just Neil said, which sounds absolutely exactly the experience to many of us, Roberto, to continue on that point, what Neil just said, which I think is very interesting, when you had A, and then suddenly you are forced, as Neil said, you throw a system to a storm, and then suddenly you're confused, and you don't have A, B, C, D, but you only have A, X, Y, Z, and then you have to plan, and get things going. When you do that, I think the word change control comes quickly in, isn't it? Because you want to be flexible, you want to supply the consumer, customer, etc., but you still want to do it in a safe way, controlled way. So Roberto, did you make use of change control processes often in the last 3.5 months?
I have to say that we have been probably in a lucky situation, because we had no really any issues of supply chain disruption, or suppliers that were not able to provide us good or packaging. And I think it has been done a great job from our purchasing colleagues in order to increase the stocks as soon as in China started the COVID, and to spread the goods in many different warehouse in order to reduce the geographical constraints. So honestly, we have not experienced this. We had just a few small trade-offs to be done, where the decision to be taken has been quite easy. That means at the end of the day, there was no change in the consumer experience. Consumer experience was our lighthouse. I mean, if there were some alternatives, because it happened for really a couple of not meaningful raw materials, we changed a bit the specs. I mean, yeah, even not the recipe. That was the granulometry of some cheese or something like that. That was not impacting the final product consumer experience. And so, of course, in a pre-COVID time, it would be an issue, or maybe a couple of weeks of discussion. How should we do that? Make some trials, etc. While during COVID time, it has been a 5 minutes decision on this, controlling the final products. Anyway, there were no real shortcuts. Of course, when the food safety was guaranteed, and we moved to something that was slightly different, why not? So probably we have been lucky for that. So I cannot provide another direct experience from my side. I know that Italy has been hit a lot, but when we look to our supply chains, there has been no discontinuity.
Yeah. Well, that looks like you did a great job over there, Roberto, because if you are in the middle of the fire and you're still managing your company and working closely with your people to keep the company going, you mentioned like 30 factories in Italy, or I think all the 30 factories are in Italy, isn't it?
No, let's say half are in Italy and half are worldwide.
Yeah, but definitely
but in places where COVID hit also. Yeah.
Exactly. If you have 15, 20 factories in Italy and you are in the fire, and you know how to manage that, and actually, we're obviously still in the tunnel, but we see the light, and you did come so far that I think you and your management leadership did a fantastic job, isn't it? Because you're in the fire, and all what it takes is 6 of your employees going having a party that night or that weekend, going back to work on the Monday, and then the how do you call it? The oil spot will get bigger, isn't it? So but I think you managed them very well. Well done. Moschos, is that also the same for you? So we have now from Roberto an example that obviously he's familiar with change control, but he is saying we had to do some small tweaks here and there, but we really didn't put the procedure of change control on the table to make sure everything goes well. What about you, Moschos? Did you use change control to manage your business or not?
I will say yes and no. No, for example, for raw materials, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So for raw materials, it's like Neil. We didn't really have problems. So, with chocolates, everything is in Belgium. So as we stop also part of the production, so it was not really an issue for raw materials. For us, the issue and the change logic of all the system was more for the finished products, because the crisis happened just before the Eastern period. And for chocolate industry, Eastern is really a big season. And so we experienced the following, that warehouse full of eggs of chocolate without customers. So we have also to experience that, okay, what about the product? So you have to destroy after all or not? So of course, we discussed really fast, and so we decided to offer to organization, to hospitals, things like that. It's a nice thing, and also for us, it's really interesting, so that your supply chain is working, and so just after the crisis, so you again have an optimized warehouse. So for the change, also an interesting thing was the agility of management. It was really the good test, not only for the crisis management team, so like procedures, like everything, so but the real agility of the CEO, of the managers, of everybody. So, for example, we decided with teams So a small meeting every morning, you know, without procedures, without anything. So 30 minutes every morning, all the management team with the CEO, so we are 8-10 people, so to discuss what's the priority for today, what's wrong, what's works, basic things, because we are a small company, and so for us it was really essential to go fast. And the good news, it works. And the good news is also that, so for us, it's also for the future. So we will discuss later, I think, for the future aspects of the crisis. It was really relevant for us to discover that, okay, we have a crisis management team, we have a crisis management procedures, but to be honest, we never imagined this kind of case study in our procedure. Okay, we imagine everything about sabotage, about infestation, about whatever you can imagine. But okay, a virus, a pandemic, it's something really new for us. But okay, we adapt ourselves. One thing I imagined was difficult for part of managers is also to discover that they are not essential for the business. You know, meaning, as Roberto said before, the big job and everything was done by people on the field, workers, the field managers. And in the beginning of the process, it was really strange for some departments saying, okay, guys, we have to stop everything now. So what I'm doing? Nothing. Sorry, guy. One example for everything related to the R&D. So of course, with the pandemic, we stopped the R&D department, saying, okay, you stay home, and you are waiting until the end of the crisis, and we will see. And for them, it was really, you know, challenging to say, okay, so 2 weeks before you said that, okay, R&D is the essential department, so we have to work and so to make new products, and that's the future. And no, okay. So the big deal is with the purchase manager, with production, with the commercial, so to find solutions and practical things. And we've also to explain this change to some people. Another example is the marketing department. So for them, they had to change all the schedule of the year and the next year. Okay, it seems something easy, but for them it was really a big job to do that. Because you have to imagine, okay, so we lost this season, so we lost this, so what can we propose to consumer, what can we propose? And so to explain also to the field, to the production, to quality, to all people saying, okay, or you know, we have really to change the software. Everything has to change. And so I think that for quality managers, for me, it was really easy if I compare to my colleagues from the marketing department. Because for me, it was only to adapt and to, okay, to say the situation is not exactly the same, but okay, by the way, our experience, so crisis management, risk analysis, okay, we can do it. And we will find a solution. Yeah. But for them, it was really a revolution. It was really disruptive event. And so the problem, I think, is more for this kind of department than people on the field.
Yeah, because they think about medium, long term. And now suddenly we had an issue that was happening now.
Yeah.
and we had to deal with it now, and that needs different skills and different thinking and different way of working, etc., isn't it, guys?
Yeah.
How about Rachid, your company? How is this managed, this pandemic?
Sorry, say that again.
Sorry.
How's the situation you guys managed? I mean, the question to Rachid.
Question to me.
Yes.
No, exactly the same what you're doing, guys. So just to continue what the Moschos say is where you had plans medium long term. That's why I'm confirming what he's saying. Suddenly was, well, wait a minute, there is no medium long term. There is something happening now, and how are we going to deal with that? While that something was going to happen now, food service was going down. Retail was getting up, and then you had all the challenge that you need that, and then we have a lot of factories around the world, and then we were having an issue in that world, the side of the world, then that side of the world, that side of the world. You could even almost forecast what the next step was. But absolutely what Moschos says, the concentration was about more focus on production now, focus on our people, and all the stuff that is needed, that at least you can run a production line now and do that with everything you need. So medium long term, we're actually put in the fridge for a while, because there is nothing, you don't know how this is going to go. Now as we speak, you start to look a little bit ahead, but it's still focused on production, people, and making sure our jobs on the call, all our jobs on the call, to serve our consumer. This is where many food companies come together. As I always said to you guys, food safety does not have any competitiveness, but this is also our job as the food industry, where we need to serve the consumer, isn't it? That was number one, and I think everyone was doing that probably the same way, slightly different, to make sure that the current production is well managed, and that was focus priority number one. Absolutely. Nati, if I may ask you a question, from a different approach, how did this virus, this Corona Covid-19, what we are discussing so far, how did that, Nati, specifically, how did you experience that as a person versus your work? Can you share anything about that? So as a person, what did that to you versus your work, what you're doing, your job?
Well, that changed significantly, since in my case, I started working from home instead of at the office. So we were locked down, everyone at home. So it was kind of a different environment. So everyone being at home, family, and normally I travel quite often. And in this case, well, no more traveling, and everyone at home. So certainly this COVID situation changed at the personal level and professional level. So yes, needed to adapt to different circumstances and different challenges. Yes, because couldn't travel to many locations, for example. So had to do a lot of work virtually.
And how is working from home? If you have to compare working from home versus what you did from the office, how would you give them a number on scale?
I think the best approach is to have the option to do both. But if working from home then is mandatory and you have not the chance to go to the office, well, it's very different. And also if you are alone working from home or with your family around, because in Spain, for example, we couldn't leave the house for about, 2.5 months.
Yeah.
So in that case, I would have loved to be at the office, but it was impossible. So had to readapt and yes, do a lot of virtual meetings, manage the situation at home and at the office. So yeah, challenging when there is no option.
No, that's true. That's true. I don't know about you guys, but I did also work from home. I'm still working from home. put somewhere in a small room in my house, which normally was the kids' room, and I had to get them out and install myself over there. But I'm still working from home, and to be honest with you, my experiences is that you start very early because of different zones you work with, and sometimes you get coffee shoveled to you on the desk or food. And because all of us, we love our work, I'm 100% sure you all agree with me. The problem was, the challenge was to watch out to stop and go out for 30 minutes. If in the beginning I didn't do that, and then when you look to the clock, it says 9 o'clock in the evening. So I was doing more from home, but it's also because you just sit, don't move, and then keep working. And also because the sports schools, the gym, everything was closed. There was no place that you could go to. So you just continue working. I'm not sure if that also was for you guys like that.
Definitely.
It's the same,
yeah.
isn't it? Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the same experience again. Hey, and Shabeek, if you look at this, what we're talking about so far, what is it for you that you have learned that you're gonna keep with you and keep using going forward? Is there anything that you have learned or you're gonna do differently, whatever, that you're gonna say, hey, I know this now, I'm from now on, and I'm gonna keep that with me and keep using that? Any thoughts you want to share with us?
One thing I can tell you, see, we all learn, I'm sure everyone will join with me for that. We all learn how to work remotely, okay? Because we all travel a lot, right? We used to travel a lot to control and visiting the production site and, visiting supplier sites and approving the suppliers' vendors and also our sites. We were thinking that, yes, when we go there, we can get more information and how much knowledge or how much information we can get through a telephone call or through the video conference or working from home and all. But I can tell you that perception that's changed. Now it's become part of our life or part of our work style. So I can tell you I was working from home, and even still it's like 2 days I'm working from home, 3 days I'm coming to the office. Okay, so today I'm in my office. So that's one location. If I look at my other sites like Saudi Arabia or Oman, Kuwait, these all sites, it's easy for me to connect today with the technology, and we are getting the updated informations. That's one. It's part of our job using the technology. Then another thing is the good part. I can tell you the interesting thing, the trust part between the suppliers and the manufacturers, that's been increased. So like Neil said before and all, we have to send the checklist or something. Then later on, the trust part that's built up. So what are the products supplied by the supplier? When you're going for the old days, you were going there and approving and seeing their complete production and all. And today, that audit or the assessment that's happening through the workshop. So you are using the technology and seeing the production, and later on, the understanding is coming up, the trust is building up. Yes, what the supplier is going to give to their customer, like us, we'll receive it, but we have to trust that's a good product. And I can tell you, the communication that's improved a lot. And if you ask my staff today, they know most of our suppliers quality team, because they are in regular contacts whenever the production is happening there. They place them, request everything and what's happening there, what's the product is coming. So they get the clear picture now before the products arrive here. So the surprise part that's removed. And I can tell you, I think most of the companies, maybe they will decide, the working from home, that should be part of our work style, okay? And also this is going to reduce a lot of traveling, okay? So we can use the technology. So one of the key learning from this pandemic, how to use the technology effectively. And that's add a lot of value to every business.
Yeah. And I think also, and this is a statement that I'm gonna want to put on the table, and please, Neil, if you can comment on that, and then even the rest. What you said, absolutely right, and I agree with that. But I think this is also the moment to build on that maybe in the future. This is a statement, agree, yes or no, where when we talk with suppliers and they have like a FSEA, they have a BRC, they have IOP, they have this, they have that. Yeah. I think going forward, we need to talk. Some of us, leaders like us, need to start the discussion with other standardization, global standardization, to see how we can make standards more effective, that going forward, if something like this happen again, even we will, we don't have that insecurity that a certain supplier or co-packer or whatever will have a problem. If you have a certain standard which call XYZ, we know you have covered everything very well and you are trustworthy to deliver. Now, sometimes we still have discussion, as you remember, guys, when you talk about BRC or FSI or whatever, you see the certificate on the wall, but when you go on the production floor in a factory or supplier, you might have two different worlds.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think this is maybe a topic, Ahmed, that you should probably write down as an agenda for us next time and this year, and when we come together, what is it, and then invite those bodies to have a good discussion. Now we have learned, now we have seen, as my friends over here have said, it was not there, and oops, it was there, and we had an issue. Now we have seen that this can happen. Maybe in the future something bigger will happen. Let's work together and have a standard that all of us on the screen and many other colleagues will confirm and agree that that's the best standard, that in an event, if something happened, we know when I call Neil, company Neil, and he is supplying XYZ, and he starts to supply, I know it's good because he is having a specific standard that's covering all the important things that I need to be covered.
Yeah, I think it's a very good point. In fact, actually, coincidentally, just before we had the lockdown situation, I actually had an external audit refresher training a couple of days. And I remember one of the first slides that was brought up was, be careful, just because a company's got a certain GSFI standard and it looks really good. Here are some examples where companies had that excellent standard, and yet in reality, they were falling very short of it, because it depends on the quality of how that was audited. And I do see, when I look at my SAQs, supply audit questionnaires, and I do get to see reports, say, for example, BRC reports, where you have to read the report to understand how well that auditor did his investigation. Now, how good he was, what standard it was, or was it just a tick box exercise? So certainly, and that's the thing. Yeah. You have to have a bit streetwise about this, and not just take the fact that you've got a nice shiny certificate from the auditing company XYZ. You actually have to look. So if I see something that, there was only one minor in our blah blah blah, and I get a bit suspicious, because the audits I've been on with, when I've been audited by BRC, if it's a good auditor, they will find things. Yeah. And certainly, I've read recent reports from BRC 8, and I'll be honest, there are things that the auditor brought up which I would have been pulled up on myself. I didn't know that, Yeah. So yeah, you have to read the report that went with the audit, and that's what I insist when I'm looking at a company. Yeah, okay, great, you got the standard. I need to see your auditor's report and your responses to that. How you adjust it as my level of protection. But yeah, I've audited quite a few companies myself, and I suppose it is very hard not to do this, but you do get a bit of first impressions right at the start. When you pull up, when you go in the reception, that sort of thing. Obviously, I'm not doing that anymore, but I guess it's a little bit like, if I want to be supplied by you as a company, I need to do some trust, and I guess in order to build the trust, I've got to get the awareness of what the company's what makes this company tick. What is it about this company that can say, okay, you're trustworthy, I can believe your safety standards, I can believe your quality standards, I can believe your legality standards. You're good. Yeah, if I use you, that our brands are protected, our customers are protected. That's where I got to come from. I suppose it's experience, really. I guess there's a lot of things in there. I would have put my head down. I have to admit, I have done because of the sort of number of changes we've had to make in terms of our supply base. I found myself doing a lot more of that kind of thing. And just being earlier pointed out about the R&D guys. So the R&D guys, we've had to say, okay, you can't do any more product development as such. But what you've got to, the challenges we need to do is we need to increase throughput by 15%. How do we do that? Yeah, we've got shortages of ingredients here. Yeah, what are the alternatives to those ingredients? Can you come up with some recipe and a process that does that? Or one that's sort of just closed off now is, okay, because we haven't even touched on packaging. We've had problems with getting packaging printed. So things like caps on jars, having to switch back to just plain caps, just things like that, and had to push that through. Or film, we've had to say, I'm sorry, we can't have the fancy marketing film. We need to have something else that we can just keep running and not have to change over. It's really have to be streamlined. So I'm sorry, I don't know if that answers your question. I'm going to go for. I have a habit of going off on tangents. I do apologize, but yeah.
No, don't worry.
But the sort of things that sort of jump in my mind that we've had to do the last 2 weeks or so.
No, but again, it's just you're absolutely what you're saying is adding value. It is just, as I said, the glass is half full, not half empty. We did experience, all of us, this, and the question was during this pandemic, how is your health? Which is number one important. How is your health? Because without no health, you're nothing. Now, as we are going, I think we should ask ourselves the question: what did we learn, and what is it what we can apply as we go in the future, as a world, not even as a company or as Rachid or Neil, but as a world. And then when you do that as a world, it will cascade as a country, and then as a company. What is it what we have learned, and we can do differently going forward, which will add value? As Shabeek said, less traveling. Absolutely damn right. Because if we travel less, we will have less pollution, and we will also have less traffic on the road. I live in a country, the Netherlands. Most of you know that. Well, you all know that very well. It's 17 million people. It's a small country. If I have to drive from Nijmegen to Amsterdam at 7 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning, it's taking me 2.5 hours. Maybe what Nati said, I could going forward work 3 days from home and 2 days in the office, or 2 days from the. So what are the things that we can do going in the future that will benefit us, and how can we make sure we keep doing them? Because the human beings, we do things and then we go back in what we have been doing in the past.
Absolutely, yes.
That's humans. Yeah. That's humans. But absolutely, I think important to think about that, but also to have that discussion going forward. But also now, what is it what we can keep, change a little bit, and keep doing in the future that will benefit our companies, our friends, our countries, but also you as an individual? I think there are some lessons to learn, isn't it, guys?
Yes, I can take the question if you like, and then I would like to come back to the previous your previous point, because I have probably a slightly different view on this. So I will be ready to make you a proposal in a few weeks. I think that there are several learnings. As manager, I think thanks to COVID, we learned how to be more flexible and agile. When usually we talk about a single detail of a specific stuff, and at the same time we are not sure if our suppliers is able to give us the flowers of the packaging or the chocolate chips or whatever it is, then I think it is changing the weight of how we see things. So it helped us a lot to have a broader view of the business more than the technical detail. And this, to me, this is the number one. As a leader, I think we experienced the importance to use a lot the soft skills, like to show people that you are caring them. I think you all experienced that in hard time, at first you have to make your people feeling cared So the use of compassion, empathy, people caring. These are the dimension that personally sometimes I maybe forget, while this COVID time showed me a lot the importance of this. I think that you mentioned the yes, work from home. I think that there was also before the work from home, but it's totally different. How people is more diligent in connecting. I was able to do smart working also before, but I've never experienced because if 8 people are in the physical in the same meeting and 1 or 2 are connected in remote, then you are not able to. You're missing 50% of the communication. You know, the body language, the unsaid, etc. So now people have the same the equal voice. They are able to explain in a succinct way what they think, because it's everybody's on the same level. I think that a remote audit, we were talking about it 1 year ago, and we started to experience the remote audit. Within this COVID, I think we have done 10 times more because it was the only way. Then now we have got an experience that if we would have got in 10 years in normal times. Now we know a bit better what's the good thing of remote audit and what you cannot achieve in remote audit. So this could impact even our budget in order to be more effective in some cases. And the last point I want to mention is the digitalization. So we started a digitalization journey here in Barilla, but the COVID restrictions where you cannot travel, even you cannot go to the plant that is just nearby, showed us how it is important to have digital data in real time, where you can have the full picture of what is happening. To me, this is more or less what I bring home. And you're right, Rachid. Maybe as humans we'll forget in a couple of months. But to me, these are really the good side of this. To me, they're interesting learnings.
No, great stuff. So last point, Roberto, you're saying now you have cameras in your factory, so it enables you to get on the cameras and to check whatever you want to check. Is that your last point?
No, my last point is that in some cases we have cameras on products, in some others absolutely not. What I'm saying is that I think that for big companies, we all of us experience the trade-off between to have a super new digital system to drive a process, the high-perspective cameras or whatever it is. At the same time, you have in the line just nearby a line that is 30 or 40 years old, and maybe people that are taking note on paper of process parameters. So I call it the geopackagization of digital. So, absolutely. And to me, it is important is to have all the data that can flow on a digital system, and we're not there.
Absolutely.
But to me, it is showing how it's important to have it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I do agree with you. Absolutely. Nati, what is your view on this?
Yes, definitely. I think we took many learnings by working virtually. One of those is digitalization and paperless facility also, that you can get that information real time from the line. And also I believe that now only like the meetings that are really relevant are taking place, and not many meetings that maybe could be avoided. So I mean, like this after COVID situation might bring us different ways of thinking on like meetings. Maybe they will be done more virtually and having less travel around the different companies and the different people working in different facilities. So I believe people are now more comfortable working from home, having discussions from home, using this technology like video cameras and others, and being more precise and trying to spend less time on meetings that have not much value added.
Yeah. And Shabeek, do you think what Roberto just said and Nati now, and I think Roberto said it actually specifically, do you think now we have this and this can only get bigger and better? Do you think this companies will, we companies, do you think we will use this momentum to reduce travel budgets, to reduce costs? What do you think?
I think yes, most of the companies are taking this as really positively, because moreover, the effectiveness is there. It's become more effective. I can tell you, when you are traveling, you are spending a lot of time for travel, and that's also cost, expense, everything. Okay. Now, whatever you want to get in, you are traveling and collecting the information from there or getting the people there. Everything that's happening from here, where you are. You got it. Even training, we started to deliver the trainings now. I can tell you, in Agthia, we started to deliver the training, okay, through using these Microsoft Teams and other virtual tools. So and we can see more effectiveness. It's coming out, and people are enjoying it. Okay, so this COVID pandemic is changing a lot of things in this world. Work style, the way people used to work, that's changing. And another thing, even people started to accept many things, especially the changes, what's happening here. And everyone is learning every day now, new things, even about COVID. Even doctors are learning every day. We don't have a clear answer. So today, how this is spreading and what's the source, everything. If you look at it, we don't have a clear answer. So everyone is learning every day. So I believe, answering to your question, I believe all the companies will take this very positively, and smart companies definitely will measure the effectiveness. What are the things really executed in this pandemic effectively? Like Roberto said, the heroes in the companies, and not only the people, those who are on the floor, also the people, those who are behind the screen, because on the screen there are many people, I can say the brand people or who it is, but behind the people there are a lot of supporting function in every company, and many people there working from home, some of them they're going at a different shift, and taking the ownership. And that's another thing this pandemic gave us. Everyone become more responsible. They become, their personal life, they become more responsible. And also when it is come to the work side, the job side, they become more responsible and agile, like our other friends said.
Absolutely.
So it's a learning for everyone.
I agree. Absolutely. Neil, a question for you, sir. And then Moschos, if you can comment on that. And I think it was also a question from you, Neil, and I think it's interesting also to mention that question here. You mentioned that in your questions, and now we had, March until now, we talked about suppliers, we talked about quality, we talked about a lot of stuff, and I'm just trying to respect the time because I'm watching the time and I'm thinking, hell yeah, it goes very quick when you have fun. But in terms of suppliers, from a bigger word, and you mentioned in your question, I think it's a great question. Do you think, even we did manage so far by vendor questionnaire, by calls, by Teams, etc., do you also think somewhere there, because of this, and we didn't travel a lot and go into a lot of factories, the safeguards at certain suppliers did go down, and somehow going forward, we need to go back and calibrate if that's still the level what we wish to stay, or we have to pump it up. Where is the safeguard now? Everyone, just to give a little bit more add value, everyone did whatever they did to survive, if you know what I mean. So do we have to go back, or how do you think about that to safeguard that going forward?
Well, let me just be very clear. In terms of food safety, then there's absolutely no way we would ever decrease food safety. If anything, I'm passionate about food safety.
Absolutely.
It's all my career has been around food safety, and there's no compromise on that. I think in terms of what I meant was really it's actually about having the trust about the when you're trying to look for an alternative ingredient, you have your original ingredient, the one that you develop the product with, that you've been producing. So when you're looking for an alternative supplier, you're looking for an exact match. Yeah, quality wise, does it exactly match? And I think if it didn't exactly match, then we would sort of say, okay, forget it. You know, sorry, we will have something else, or we'll go somewhere else, or keep with what we've got. And I think really sort of add the question is, okay, so what is the what are the actual limits on where we can go with the matching up one alternative ingredient to another? You know, where are the limits, and actually how do we determine whether that's an acceptable match? So previous process would be we would make the product up, we would present it to the marketing team and say, this is the standard, this is the sample we've made up with the alternate ingredient. You know, how do you feel about this? And now the onus has come back very much to us, to the people, you know, the operators on the ground, to say, right, we've got this alternate ingredient. Are you happy with it as a match? Do you think it fits into the distribution curve? And I think that by doing that, that's kind of like cutting out the middleman a little bit here.
Yeah.
That's the ingredient. In terms of the supply assessment, yes, we're actually far more electronic based, far more form based. But at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do, even with the wonderful system of Teams. And I think we're very lucky to have Teams. It came out just the right time. If we didn't have Teams, if this happened 10 years ago, I think we'd find it much harder. But still, at the end of the day, I think there will be an element of travel. There has to be. There has to be that going to the site to actually see it. I mean, an old boss of mine saying, you know, nothing beats actually go and see it yourself at the end of the day. And I think we could sustain this longer. I'm sure we'll have to. But there comes a point at which you have to do some traveling. But I personally have already cut my predicted traveling by to a third of what it was in my predicted budget for next year. I think the difference will be is that when you do travel, you've really got to make it worthwhile. You know, so instead of the quick trip to wherever, maybe a day's trip, you'll have to build it in with other things.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, to be fair, I tried to do that anyway, but I think it's more emphasis as justifying the trip and packing as much as you can. And things like training sessions like this, clearly, at least the theoretical type of training sessions, you can do with Teams. And that means, yeah, you can actually do training sessions like this to a limited extent. I think that's going to be far more common. So it is going to be a different world. And I think the question you raised earlier, but will we slip back into old habits? I don't know. I really don't. I suspect not. I hope not. But I don't know. I think this is going to go on for some time because I think there'll always be this almost now fear that we might have heaven forbid another version of a virus, a pandemic, you know, in the background, or there certainly will be flare-ups in the next months and even into 2021. Yeah, I hope that's answered the question.
Yeah, for sure. Moschos, anything to add to that?
So I agree with Neil, of course, that for food safety we cannot negotiate.
No.
So, of course, the standards are the standards point. But one thing that's really important for me and for ingredients, for all problems, and also some for the future. Neil, you said a really important word, trust. And I think that one thing we can do is to really define trust between partners, between suppliers, between us. And that's also a lesson for the future. So to defining trust is also defining what's really essential for us. Of course, food safety, it's something different. We do not discuss about this, but everything else can be discussed as what's really essential. And for trust, it's not only trust with suppliers, it's also trust with colleagues, with workers, so with teams. and we work from home. So as a manager, do you trust your colleagues? Do you trust your team that everything is fine? So it's really a new paradigm for all of us. And I think that one thing we have to really discuss to improve ourselves and to improve also the process is really probably to redefine what is really essential for the business. And we will see that, yes, indeed. So we have to economize money, so less travel, less everything, because also after the lockdown, at least in Europe, we'll see a really big economic crisis also coming, and we have also to manage with that. So if we define really the important things, really the vital ones, and I totally agree with Neil, so saying, okay, that's probably the momentum to discuss and to say, okay, what's the only unique standards we all agree with this? And so we are all on the same level, on the same definition. And it's really important to discuss about this. And for probably the COVID-20, the COVID-21, the COVID-22, who knows? So without being pessimistic, but we have to think about. And definitely, trust has to be defined, and we will find solution between this.
Yeah, I agree. You're right. Trust is the foundation of a house, of a relationship. If there is no trust, then we are nowhere, isn't it, guys? So I totally agree with you on that. You just mentioned something very interesting. Obviously, on the COVID-19, we could talk till 10 o'clock in the evening today, but I just want to use the last 10 minutes in different things. You talked, Moschos, you fed back, you added to what Neil was said. It's absolutely great to hear and good stuff. But then you said economic crisis.
Yeah.
Do we think as a team, and then I would like you to answer a little bit, Roberto, do we think as a team that now we have COVID-19, we are into it? Well, we are in a tunnel, but we see the light, and we're still managing that. Do we think now, as much as the economic crisis can also bring some other challenges on that, above that? What do you think, Roberto?
Yes, of course. If you look all the forecasts in Italy, we'll have a GDP minus 9.5%, and for 2020, and at a global level it will be less hitting, but it will be very, very significant. Of course, there are forecasts, and by definition, that could be right or wrong. And we'll see the 31st of December of this year if they will be right. But what we see is that yes, there could be a recession in Italy. By the way, we closed the first part of the year very, very bad from an economic standpoint, even worse than before. It was not that good. And of course, this could reflect, this could have an impact on also on consumption habits. So yes, we expect a lot, for instance, a lot of price pressure on from retailers and on the market. This could be a very important competitive element. We expect that also channels will change. I mean, the e-commerce that has been forced in a way by COVID-19 will probably continue. Food service stop, so move back of consumption from out of home to at home. Of course, could have an impact. And when you put everything together, maybe we have to totally revise the strategy for product development, for instance. So more value product, even if a pack of pasta costs less than a coffee, or for instance, a specific tailored range for e-commerce. Yes, it will be, and this will have an impact also on our budgets. I don't know what about you, but yes, COVID has got a tremendous impact on budgets, because the company wanted to make safe part of the budget, so zero travel cost or maybe 50% less or this kind of stuff. But this had a big impact, and will probably will be also in the future. So a lot of elements that we have to take in account that are today they are nearly unpredictable. But experts say that there will be a drop in consumption due to the economic recession. Then next year will be better, hopefully. This is what usually happens. A lot of small companies are hit and will probably close in Italy. If you go to the seaside, there are hotels that are still closed, and this kind of stuff. People doesn't want to make holiday in the hotel, for instance, so they will probably, the Dutch will remain in Netherlands and the Italian will remain in Italy, but probably not in a hotel. So not on the beach because they're fearing. So there are a lot of things that are still have to happen. But I think that I agree with you. We see the light and end of the tunnel. Probably we are very near to go out from this tunnel, but we probably have another one.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. Guys, we only have 6 minutes. I don't know how it did go, but it really did fly. And I don't want to have actually. I think it's what Roberto just explained. Really important to see the tunnel and the light, but what is next and the economic crisis. I think we definitely need to watch out there and see also how we can help each other, because that will also bring some challenges. But just to use the last 5 minutes on time, I just like to do it in a nice way, to give it a round, to give everyone a couple of seconds to share or say something, and before I close out. I just want to respect your time and having ideas also, guys, for the future, if we can do this again in a different way or whatever. Can I start with you, Neil, please? Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say to everybody, I hope you and your families stay well, and I wish you all the best, and I look forward to happier times.
Absolutely.
And thank you very much.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you.
Your time.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
My friend, Shabeek, go ahead. Or you're on mute again, man. I still cannot lip reading. You're on mute. You're on mute, Shabeek.
Again, sorry, I didn't know that. Okay.
I just said I still cannot lip read, so that's a. Go ahead, sir.
Anyway, really, we spent, like what you said, the time that's really flew like anything. Okay, and we discussed many things from different part of the world and different company, but at the end of the day, the subject is remains same. Our consumer food safety, this everything that's remains. So that's really good to share some experience and good to hear from everyone. Thank you very much, Ahmed, for organizing such a forum, and you should do it in the future as well. Okay, we all support for that. We should do it in the future also. And the subject maybe we can look at. Definitely, we all should expect there's going to be a big challenge, market crisis challenge everywhere globally, because people will spend very less. People will be very careful for spending. So that's end of the day, it will affect every brand. Some people, they look for the product instead of the brand name and all. They started to compromise instead of looking for their preference. They look for their needs. So these changes will come soon. Maybe this kind of things, maybe we can discuss in the future sessions, Ahmed. Okay, that's all on my side. Once again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shabeek. Roberto?
I would like to use my seconds to build on a last concept on data sharing and trust. I promise to come back to this point. I fully agree with you. To have a GSI recognized certificate, to me, it is not enough. But what if there is a supplier that has been audited by Heinz company or by General Mills or by the other colleagues that are attending company? Then I would personally trust. So is it in the near future, space enough, room enough to build a sort of partnership where we can share our audits, our visits to suppliers to integrate the ones from GFSI, then to me it will be a great source of efficiencies and transparency between us. But I was working on it before the COVID. I think that COVID time is a perfect period to make a step on this. So.
Yeah. Okay, Roberto, thank you very much. Moschos?
First of all, I wanted to thank you for this organization, because due to the pandemic, we see that we have to be agile, and agility is important. And for that, we have to share, and so share experience. And we see also that in all countries, we experience the same issues, we experience the same problems. And so that's also the positive of the COVID pandemic. See that Earth is really small, you see, and that, okay, we cannot travel now, but everything is really fast and small, and so we have to continue to share, and to go further for the next crisis, because I'm sure that, okay, that's only the beginning, but now I think we are more armed to fight.
Yeah, more prepared. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Moschos. Nati?
Well, from my side, I would like to thank you for the organization of this online panel discussion. It's good to see that we have the same challenges across the different countries, different companies, and that we are all on the same boat. So as much as we can partner and support each other, it's going to be good for all of us, all consumers. And well, as we discussed previously, food safety is priority number one, and human safety, of course. So great to be part of these discussions. And well, I believe that this will bring us many learnings to all of us, and best practices that we can apply in the near future, whenever the situation happens again, or already in the new normality, right? So thanks so much for sharing and for
Thank you very much, Nati. Thank you very much, Nati. And before I hand over back to Ahmed, just to close the loop again where it started, again, guys, really thank you very much. And well, the nice thing for me is that I know you all on the screen. I know you all. We have met before. But I really like not only the passion about food safety and quality, that's something in our DNA. I can see that even from the screen here, but also the stories, Neil, Roberto, Moschos, Shabeek, everyone on the call, Nati, everyone sharing from different angles. I did pick up a couple of things, just want to give you back. I heard a lot of good stuff and a lot of nice challenges, and I wish this call could be for 4 hours instead of 2 hours, but maybe thoughts for the next time when we think about it. And I expect also your feedback, how we can improve it much better, because this is the first time, and we definitely will do that. And I don't think we should do that because of COVID. I think maybe we have started something now. We as leaders can keep doing in the future, whatever happened. So think about that and come back to it. But I heard something. Church, you said that, and I think that has been always important, but we sometimes forget about that, because again, we are human beings, and I heard that you saying that word, and that word is communication. Communication. If you do that when you have a problem or when you not have a problem, that's the red line in difficult project and food safety, quality, and R&D. Communication. What are you doing? Share with me what you're doing. Who is who? So communication is key. I would really definitely suggest you to keep doing that. How do you do that? Is exactly what you all have mentioned. I have a weekly call with my team, having them all around the world, and having this and talking with them. And exactly where Neil ended with, my first question is, how are you doing? How is your health? How is your family? And I'm not doing that because I need something from them. I'm doing that, and I'm going to bring the other two words, routines and rituals, because I have put routines and rituals. Every week I'm talking to everyone. And now I'm even bringing other candidates, my CEO, our vice president to talk with my team, sharing with them, talking with them, acknowledging what they're doing. And you said that, Roberto, also before. I also wrote that down as communication, as rituals and rules. It has been always important, but now we have confirmed it is important. That's those people at the production line who are producing products for us. Whatever they're producing, they are the most important. Always, they have been always the most important. And let me use myself as an example. I always have said, you don't need me, but you need that operator there who's well skilled to produce for you, because they're not only making sure that they're making the volume, they're making sure it's the right quality, it's the right spec, at the right. So it's a multifunctional person who's standing at the line doing a great job. And I'm very happy, as you said, Roberto, you're absolutely right, sir. It's not only about the doctors and the nurses. It's about them too, for sure, 100%. But it's also about the people that have been running, make products in all your companies and my company, making sure that the consumer was fed. Because if we did not feed the consumer, we had a bigger problem than that. So you're absolutely right, Roberto, when you said that's a great thank you to the nurses and the doctors, but also to other people in other places that we have to watch out.